There's been no let up in the fighting over Christmas, with Palestinian authorities saying that over 100 people have now been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp in central Gaza. They have said that the previous night was one of the deadliest in 80 days of warfare. This as Israel continues to shell and bombard the Gaza Strip as it keeps up its offensive. Now, the Israeli army has said that it is reviewing the incident, but that it is committed to international law and minimizing the harm to civilians. It's also continued to accuse Hamas for the civilian death toll, blaming them of operating in built-up areas and using human shields, accusation that Hamas, for its part, continues to deny. Now, much of the Palestinian territory has been left in ruins. A huge majority of the population has now been displaced from their homes, and many of the Gaza Strip's hospitals are now at breaking point. The World Health Organization led missions into northern Gaza over the weekend. They have said that the situation is deteriorating badly. They've warned of growing desperation and warned that people have now been stealing from aid trucks as they suffer from starvation. One of the emergency coordinators has warned of the risk of famine.
Luke, meanwhile, in Egypt, negotiations are ongoing to find a solution to this crisis that has been going on, as you said, for 80 days now. But this plan is running into a good deal of resistance so far.
There is a great deal of resistance to the Egyptian plan on both sides. Both Hamas and its allies, Islamic Jihad, have rejected the proposal to install a new truce. They have refused to give up power in the Gaza Strip in return for what would be a more lasting and long-term ceasefire. The plan itself would have come in three parts. It would have initially seen a 2-week pause in the fighting, with an exchange of hostages, 40 hostages for 120 Palestinian prisoners. There would then have been discussions, more Palestinian-centric, aimed at healing rifts between Fatah and Hamas, with the aim of establishing a government both in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip to look at reconstruction and eventual elections. And there would ultimately have been a comprehensive ceasefire under which all hostages could potentially have been exchanged, including Israeli soldiers. Now, both Hamas and Islamic Jihad have been maintaining their position that any ultimate exchange of hostages needs to be under an all-for-all deal. That would mean that all Palestinian prisoners in Israeli detention would be handed over for all the hostages that the militant groups are holding. But you have to remember that before the war, before October 7th, Israel was holding over 5,000 Palestinian prisoners in detention. Those numbers have now more than doubled since October the 7th. So the difficulty now is in what kind of terms any kind of deal may be moving forward. Israel has not yet rejected the deal out of hand, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appears to be digging in his feet, saying on Monday that Israel would continue to prosecute its war and it would indeed intensify its actions. So the question has to be asked, what kind of pressure might be brought to bear, and whether or not the Egyptian proposal may in fact be used as a framework for any kind of future deal.